So you have learned that in Python programming language, we have two types of numbers. Integers, which are whole numbers like 10, they don't have a decimal point, and floating point numbers or floats, which are numbers with a decimal point. Now, in this tutorial, we're going to look at the arithmetic operations supported in Python language. These are the same arithmetic operations that we have in math. We can add numbers, multiply them, and so on. So let's look at a few examples. We can print 10 plus 3. So this is the addition operator. We also have subtraction. We have multiplication. We have two kinds of division. Here's one with a forward slash. Let's run this program and see what we get. We get a floating point number. But we also have another division operator for getting an integer. So if we add another slash here and run this program, we get an integer. We have another operator called modulus, which is a percent sign, and this returns the remainder of the division. So when we run this program, we should get 1. There you go. And one last operator we have here is exponent, which is the power. So that is indicated with 2 asterisks, and this will return 10 to the power of 3. So let's run this program, we get 1,000. So these are the arithmetic operators in Python programming language. Now for all these operators that you learned, we have an augmented assignment operator. That is very useful. Let me show you. So let's say we have a variable called x. We set it to 10. Now we want to increment this by 3. We'll have to write code like this. X, we set this to x plus 3. So Python interpreter will add 10 to 3. The result is 13, and then it gets stored into x again. So when we print x, we should see 13. There you go. So this is how we can increment a number, right? Now, augmented assignment operator is a way to write the same code, but in a shorter form. This is how it works. We type x plus equals 3. What we have on line 3 is exactly like what we have on line 2. So this is what we call the augmented assignment operator. We have augmented or enhanced the assignment operator. Now in this particular case, we are incrementing a number using the augmented assignment operator, but we can also subtract or multiply a number by a given value. For example, let's delete what we have on line 2. We can type subtract equal 3. So here we are subtracting 3 from x. When we run this program, we should see 7. There you go. Now let me ask you a question. I'm going to clear all this code here. Define x and set it to 10 plus 3 times 2. What do you think is the result of this expression? This is a very basic math question that unfortunately a lot of people fail to answer. The answer is 16. Because in math we have this concept called operator precedence, which means the order of operations. So the multiplication operator has a higher precedence, so it's applied first, which means 3 by 2 is executed first, the result is 6, and then it's added to 10. That is why x should be 16 after we run this code. Let's verify that. So print x, run the program, x is 16. So this is what we call operator precedence. It's just a basic math concept. It's not about Python programming language. So all the other programming languages behave the same way. So here's the order. First we have the exponentiation, which is the power, like 2 to the power of 3. Then we have multiplication or division. And finally we have addition or subtraction. This is the order of operations. Let me show you another example. Here I'm going to add the exponentiation operator. So 2 to the power of 2. Once again, what do you think is the result of this expression? Pause the video and think about it for a few seconds. The answer is 22. Because the exponentiation operator takes precedence, so first 2 to the power of 2 is executed, the result is 4. Then 4 is multiplied by 3, that is 12. And finally 12 is added to 10. So x should be 22. So let's run this program and verify this. So I'm going to delete these lines here, run the program. There you go. X is 22. Now let me bring back these rules here. We can also use parentheses to change the order of operations. So if we have parentheses, it always takes priority. In this case, we can add parentheses around 10 plus 3. So this piece of code will be executed first. The result is 13. Then the exponentiation operator will be executed. So 2 to the power of 2 is 4. And finally, 4 is multiplied by 13. Now here's a little exercise for you. I'm going to set x to parentheses 2 plus 3 times 10 minus 3. What is the result of this? Pause the video and think about it for a few seconds. So you learn that parentheses always overrides the order. So this piece of code is executed first. The result is 5. Then between the multiplication and subtraction, you know that multiplication takes precedence. So next, 5 will be multiplied by 10. The result is 50. And finally, we have the subtraction. So 50 minus 3 will be 47. Let's verify this. Print x, run the program. There you go. I hope you guessed it right. So this is all about operator precedence. It's a very important topic, and I see it quite often in Python tests. So if you're preparing for a Python test, make sure to watch this tutorial one more time. In this tutorial, we're going to look at a few useful functions for working with numbers. Let's start by defining a variable like x and set it to 2.9. Now to round this number, we can use the built-in round function. So we call the round function, give it x, and then print the result. Let's run this program. So we get 3. We have another useful built-in function called ABS, which is short for absolute. And this is the absolute function that we have in math. We give it a value and it always returns the positive representation of that value, even if that value is negative. Here's an example. Let's call the ABS function and give it negative 2.9. When we run this program, we're going to see 2.9 on the terminal. So let's go ahead. There you go. So absolute always returns a positive number. Now, technically in Python, we have a handful of built-in functions for performing mathematical operations. If you want to write a program that involves complex mathematical calculations, you need to import the math module. A module in Python is a separate file with some reusable code. We use these modules to organize our code into different files. As a metaphor, think of a supermarket. When you go to a supermarket, you see different sections for fruits and vegetables, cleaning products, junk food, and so on. Each section in a supermarket is like a module in Python. So in Python, we have this math module, which contains a bunch of reusable functions for performing mathematical calculations. So let me show you how to use this module. On the top, we type import math, all in lowercase. With this, we can import the math module. Now math is an object like a string, so we can access its functions, or more accurately, its methods, using the dot operator. So if you type math dot, look, these are all the mathematical functions available in this module. For example, we can call the ceil method to get the ceiling of a number. So if we pass 2.9 here and then print the result, we should see 3. Let me delete all this other code here. All right, let's run this program. There you go. So we get 3. Another useful method is the floor method. So let's give that a try. Floor of 2.9. What do you think we're going to get? We get 2. Now, there's so many functions built in this module, and we don't really have time to go through all of them. But let me show you how you can learn about them on your own. Open up your browser and search for Python 3 math module. Make sure to add the version, Python 3. Because the math module in Python 2 is slightly different from the math module in Python 3. So, Python 3 math module. Now here, you can see the documentation for this module. Let's go. Let's have a look. If you scroll down, you can see the list of all the functions and their explanation. So as an exercise, I encourage you to spend 5 minutes, have a quick look at this documentation, see what functions are there for you in case you need them. In this tutorial, I'm going to talk to you guys about if statements in Python. If statements are extremely important in programming, and they allow us to build programs that can make decisions based on some conditions. So if some condition is true, we're going to do certain things. Otherwise, we're going to do other things. Here's an example. Over here, I've got this text file with a bunch of rules for our program. If it's a hot day, perhaps we want to tell the user it's a hot day, so make sure to drink plenty of water. Otherwise, if it's cold, so here's another condition. If this condition is true, we're going to tell the user it's a cold day, so wear warm clothes. And otherwise, if it's neither hot or cold, we want to tell the user it's a lovely day. So let me show you how to write a program that simulates these rules. So back to our program here, we start by defining a Boolean variable is underline hot. We set this to true. Next, we add an if statement. So if, here we need to add a condition. In this case, we're going to use our Boolean variable. So is underline hot. Now, if this if value is to true, then we're going to do certain things. In this case, we want to tell the user, hey, it's a hot day, drink plenty of water. So back to our program. After our condition, we add a colon. Now, note that when I press enter, PyCharm automatically indents our cursor. Now, any code that we write here will be executed if this condition is true. Otherwise, it will be ignored. Here's an example. Let's write a print statement. Here I'm going to use double quotes because I want to use an apostrophe in our string. So it's a hot day. Now let's press enter. You can see the cursor is still indented. That means we can write more code that will be executed if this condition is true. In this case, let's say we don't want to write any extra code. So to terminate this block, we need to press Shift and Tab. Now the cursor is at the beginning of the line. So let's write a print statement with a message like, enjoy your day. Now, when we run this program, because this condition is true, we're going to say this message followed by this second message. Take a look. So run. There you go. It's a hot day. Enjoy your day. But if I go over here and change this Boolean value to false and run the program again, our first message disappears and we only see the second message. Enjoy your day. So this is how if statements work. Now back here, we can add another print statement. Let's say, drink plenty of water. Now, because this print statement is also indented, it will be executed if this condition is true. So I'm going to revert is hot to true and run the program one more time. There you go. So it's a hot day, drink plenty of water, and enjoy your day. All right, now let's add a second rule here. If it's hot, we're going to execute these two lines. Otherwise, if it's not hot, we want to print a different message. So here, we remove the indentation and type else colon. Now, when we press enter, once again, our cursor is indented. So the code that we write here will be executed if this condition is not true. So here we can print, it's a cold day, print, wear warm clothes. Now let's run our program one more time. So we get the messages about a hot day followed by enjoy your day. We don't see any messages about a cold day. Now, if we go back here on the top and change this Boolean value to false and run our program, we see different set of messages. It's a cold day, wear warm clothes, and enjoy your day. But there's a problem with our program. If it's not hot, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's cold. Maybe it's a lovely day. So the absence of heat doesn't mean it's cold. Back to our conditions. Here on line 4, we have this rule that says, if it's a cold day, then print these messages. Otherwise, if it's neither hot or cold, then say it's a lovely day. So to implement this rule, we need to go back to app.py and define another variable. So let's say is underline cold. We set this to true. Now here we need to add a second condition. So after our first if statement, we can use an elif statement to define a second condition. Here's how it works. So elif, which is short for else if or otherwise if. Now here we add another condition. So is cold. So if it's cold, we want to execute these two lines. So let's cut these from here and move them under our second condition. And finally, if none of these conditions are true, we want to print a different message. It's a lovely day. So right now, is hot is false, is cold is true. So when we run this program, Python interpreter is going to execute the first if statement. In this case, because our condition is false, these two lines will be ignored. Then Python interpreter will look at line 7. It will evaluate this condition. In this case, is called is true. So we're going to see these two messages on the terminal. Now, in this case, because one of these conditions was true, this else statement will be ignored. So we are not going to see this message. And finally, as before, we're always going to see this message. So let's run our program. There you go. It's a cold day. Wear warm clothes and enjoy your day. Now, back to the top. If we change is cold to false, it's neither hot nor cold. So it's going to be a lovely day. Let's run the program, and here you go. It's a lovely day. Enjoy your day. So this is the basic of using if statements. As you can see, they're very useful in programming. And with these, we can build all kinds of rules into our programs. Okay, here's an exercise for you. Imagine the price of a house is $1 million. Now, if the buyer has good credit, they need to put down 10% of the price of this property. Otherwise, they need to put down 20%. Write a program with these rules and display the down payment required for a buyer with good credit. You will see my solution next. All right, let's define a variable for the price of this house. So price, we set this to 1 million. So 1 with 6 zeros. Next, we need a variable to tell if this buyer has good credit. So has good credit. And we set this to true. Now we need an if statement. So if has good credit is true, colon, here we need to calculate the down payment. So down underline payment should be equal to 0.1 times the price. That is 10% of the price of this property. Otherwise, colon, the down payment should be 0.2 times price. Now finally, we remove the indentation and print. Here we can use a formatted string. First, we add a label, down payment, colon, and right after that, we add a placeholder or a hole for our down payment variable. So curly braces, down payment. Let's run this program. So down payment for a buyer with good credit is $100,000. Now let's improve this by adding a $sign before this number. So back to our formatted string, just before the curly brace, I'm going to add a $sign. Let's run this one more time. That is better. In this tutorial, I'm going to talk to you guys about the logical operators in Python. We use these operators in situations where we have multiple conditions. Here's an example. Let's say we're building an application for processing loans. If an applicant has high income and good credit, then they're eligible for loan. So in this example, we have two conditions. One is having high income and the other is having good credit. So if both these conditions are true, then the applicant is eligible for loan. So this is where we use the logical AND operator. We use this operator to combine two conditions. And by the way, this is not specific to Python programming language. Pretty much any programming language that supports if statements also supports the logical operators. So back to our program, let's define two variables. Has high income, we set this to true. And another one has good credit. We also set this to true. Now our if statement. If has high income is true and has good credit is also true, then we're going to print eligible for loan. So this is where we're using the AND operator. So if both these conditions are true, then this message will be printed. If one of them is false, we're not going to see this message. Let's try this out. So I'm going to run this program. So we see eligible for loan. But if we change either of these conditions to false and run the program again, look, the message disappeared. So this is the logical AND operator. We also have the logical OR, and we use that in situations where we want to do certain things if at least one of the conditions is true. For example, let's change the rule for this program such that if the applicant has high income or good credit, then they're eligible for loan. So if either or both these conditions are true, then the applicant is eligible. Now, back to our program. we can implement this rule by using the logical OR operator. So we simply replace AND with OR. Now, when we run this program, we're going to see this message because at least one of our conditions is true. Let's take a look. So the applicant is eligible for loan because they have good credit. If we change this to false, but set the other condition to true and run the program, we still see the same result. But if both these conditions are false, then we're not going to see this message anymore. So this is the difference between these operators. With the logical AND operator, both conditions should be true. With the logical OR operator, at least one condition should be true. We also have another logical operator called NOT, and that basically inverses any Boolean value we give it. If we give it a true Boolean value, it converts it to false. For example, let's make up a new rule. If applicant has good credit and doesn't have a criminal record, then they're eligible for a loan. Let me show you how to implement this. So we go back to our program. In this example, we don't need the first variable, so let's delete that. Let's set this variable to true. We also define another variable like has criminal record. And we set this to false. Now, we want to check to see if this applicant has good credit and not a criminal record. This is where we use the not operator. So if they have good credit and not criminal record. So in this example, has criminal record is set to false. When we use the not operator, this basically gets changed to true. So we'll have two conditions that are true. Here's one and here's another one. So our applicant is eligible for loan. And when we run this program, we see this familiar message. However, if an applicant has criminal record, so let's change this to true. Now, when we run this program, we can see our applicant is not eligible because when we apply the not operator on this variable, we'll get false. So true changes to false. And we'll end up with two conditions. One is true and the other is false. So the result is false. And that's why this message is not printed. So this is all about the logical operators in Python.